As we've been reporting this morning, the Conservative Party has laid out the timetable for finding its next leader.
Nominations open tomorrow and Rishi Sunak's replacement will be announced on the 2nd of November. One of the names that's circulating in Westminster is that of the Shadow Home Secretary, James Cleverly, who joins us now. Morning, Mr Cleverly. So let's ask the obvious question first of all. Will you be the next leader of the Conservative Party?
Well, look, the process has only just been announced. Obviously, people will be having conversations with colleagues, and a number of people will put themselves forward, and we will have a competition over the summer and a new leader of the Conservative Party by November. But I have, since becoming Home Secretary, focused predominantly, of course, on holding the new Labour government to account on my old portfolio, something that's incredibly important. And that's what I will be continuing to do. And we will see what happens once those nominations are open.
So that's not a no.
That's not a no, but also I'm mainly here to talk about the disastrous start that the Labour government have had in the Home Affairs portfolio, because I took my job very, very seriously as Home Secretary, and I take my job holding the new Home Secretary and the new government to account just as seriously.
Mr Cleverly, I can assure you we are going to talk about the new government in just a moment.
Good.
But you have 5 days now, I've worked out, to make up your mind. You've been in politics a long time. You must surely know by now what you're going to do.
Well, look, the thinking that I and others will have done and will do over the next couple of days about the leadership of the party is important, and there is a timescale for that, and I'm not going to rush ahead of that timescale. So today's work, I mean, the nominations don't open today. Today's work, for me, is the response to the King's Speech debate that I'll be making later on today, and the ongoing work of holding the Labour government to account. So the leadership stuff is important. Of course it's important, but that starts tomorrow. Today's work is about holding Labour to account.
OK, if it's not you, who would you support?
Well, as I say, that is tomorrow's work. I'm going to talk about Labour's catastrophic start in the Home Affairs portfolio. As I say, the leadership is important, but what is actually my job at the moment is holding Labour to account, and that is incredibly important because they are dropping the ball, and it's being missed because, of course, there are other events going on, the Conservative leadership contest, for example, but they are making terrible mistakes, and it's not being noticed, and it should be noticed because this goes to the heart of the security of our borders and our ability to make sure this country is safe.
We're going to come on to the new government in just a moment, but I just want to ask you, how concerned are you for the future of your party? Would you, for example, work with Reform UK?
Well, I have said that what we should do as a party is set out our values, our principles, make it very, very clear what we got wrong when we were in government, but also we shouldn't lose sight of the fact we did achieve a lot whilst we were in government. And we should make sure we are once again a broad appeal party so that people who had voted Reform at the last general election, or Lib Dem or Labour, or indeed stayed at home, can once again feel confident voting for the Conservative Party. So that's what we've got to do. Exactly how we do that, that will be the kind of discussion that we have through the leadership campaign. But that is a parallel piece of work. Our primary function as His Majesty's loyal opposition is to make sure this country is governed well. When we are in government, it is our job to govern well. When we are in opposition, it is to make sure we hold the government of the day to account so that they do better than they are doing. That is what today, for me, is about.
Mr Cleverly, this sounds very much like a pitch to be leader.
No. You're the one asking questions about the leadership. I am desperately trying to talk about Labour's failures in government. And if you hadn't asked me about the leadership, I would have talked about how that they have already basically admitted to a de facto amnesty, something that they said they wouldn't do, the fact that they have scrapped the deterrent element of the Rwanda agreement, even though the National Crime Agency said we needed a deterrent, the fact that they created a diplomatic incident by failing to inform the Rwandan government that they were scrapping it, so the Rwandan government had to read about it in the British press, the fact that they are trying to create a new border command, even though one already exists, and their leading candidates, one after another, are refusing to put themselves forward for the leadership of that Ersatz organisation, this kind of shadow organisation that doesn't have a function because that function's already being discharged. These are the things that I want to talk about. You're the one asking about the Conservative leadership campaign.
OK, let's talk about what you want to talk about. You were responsible, of course, for overseeing the Rwanda scheme. And yesterday, your successor as Home Secretary had this criticism of its cost. Just listen to this.
I can report it has already cost the British taxpayer £700 million in order to send just 4 volunteers. Those costs include £290 million payments to Rwanda, chartering flights that never took off, detaining hundreds of people and then releasing them, and paying for more than 1,000 civil servants to work on the scheme. A scheme to send 4 people.
Those figures, the numbers are staggering, aren't they?
And they're also completely made up. I mean, my advice to Yvette Cooper is if you are going to make up numbers, don't pick nice round numbers because it makes it obvious that you've plucked them out of the air. The problem that Yvette has got
So you're saying she's wrong? Those numbers that she read out yesterday in the House of Commons are wrong?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Because what she has got to remember is until very recently, I was the Home Secretary, so I know exactly how much this has cost. And when she's including, in that clip, she made it clear, she's including the salary of civil servants who are always going to be on the payroll. She is including costs of flights, which she has cancelled because she chose to scrap the scheme. The fact that people were being released is because the scheme is being scrapped by her government. So the fact is that the money that she has spoken about and the projected future costs that she's spoken about are not figures that I recognise, and I had complete oversight of the costs, both the historic costs and ongoing costs of that scheme until just a few weeks ago, and those are not figures that I am familiar with. And the point is, there is also a huge cost for inaction. When I was Home Secretary, I was able to close accommodation hotels. We closed well over 100. I have absolute certainty that this new Labour government will have to increase the number of asylum hotels.
OK.
Also, the costs of keeping people in this de facto amnesty, because having scrapped Rwanda as a safe third country partner, and I asked her at the dispatch box, and so did others, and she failed to answer, where are they going to send people whose asylum applications fail, who are from Afghanistan or Syria or Iran? Has she started returns negotiations, for example, with the Taliban or the Ayatollahs in Tehran, or al-Assad in Damascus? It's just not credible. So she is claiming that the Labour government would do less. They are scrapping things that we put in place, but claiming somehow they will do more. Small boat arrivals will increase. Deaths in the Channel, sadly, will also increase. The cost of asylum accommodation will increase because of the appalling decision-making made in the first few weeks. And the diplomatic insult of not even bothering to inform the Rwanda government of the scrapping is arrogant beyond belief. And I have no doubt that Labour would not have done that if that partnership had been with a European country.
Mr Cleverly, forgive me for interrupting you, but there is one thing I just want to ask you. You said that until very recently you had insight and knowledge of all the figures, and that yesterday the Home Secretary got those figures wrong. What are the right figures? How much did it cost per person?
So the point is there were upfront costs, which are in the public domain. I've said, and the upfront costs.
What are they?
Are in the region of 270 million. They're upfront costs because
per person.
we asked the Rwandan government to make preparations, including physical building of infrastructure, setting up institutions, recruiting judges, and they responded. They did what we did. They did what we asked as part of the treaty that we signed. But what is completely inappropriate is for the government to publicly scrap that agreement and not even have the courtesy of calling the Rwandan government and notifying them directly. I asked the Home Secretary, how long after the public announcement did the government actually get round to calling the Rwandan government and informing them that they were tearing up this bilateral treaty? She didn't answer. It is a discourtesy, a gross discourtesy to another sovereign state, a Commonwealth partner. And as I say, it would never have happened like that had they been a European country. So we all can see that the Labour government have got this appalling attitude towards Rwanda and the Rwandan government.
Mr. Cleverly,
and I find that quite disgusting.
Mr. Cleverly, we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.